Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Ask IoT video series from IoT for All, the number one publication and resource for the Internet of Things. I'm your host, Ryan Chacon. We really appreciate it if you give this video a quick thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. It encourages us to keep making this awesome content for you. All right, on today's episode, we have Sagar Jaiswal, the CTO and co-founder of Argentum Electronics. They are a company that's focused on improving the value and efficiency of commercial and multifamily buildings with a intelligent direct current power distribution system that is very easy to install. This is one of the many videos we have now done with Argentum, and a few we have to still come out. Fantastic company, very interesting, great group of people to talk to. And today our focus is talking about BACnet, how it works with IoT, what it is, and what it really means to be the IoT backbone for IoT buildings. So very good conversation. I think you'll get a lot of value out of it, especially if you've heard of BACnet, but maybe a little unfamiliar with what exactly it is. Welcome, Sagar. Thanks for being here again and taking some time to answer some questions for our audience.
For sure, no problem. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Can you kick it off for those who maybe haven't seen some of the other videos you've done with us and give a quick introduction about yourself and the company?
Yeah, so I'm Sagar Jaiswal. I have a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering with specialization in robotics. Currently, I'm CTO and co-founder of Argentum Electronics, where we're sort of developing IoT sensors, building platforms, and power distribution systems for energy efficiency purposes.
Fantastic. So today we wanted to have you on to talk about BACnet, what it is, how it works with IoT, just kind of general overview for our audience who may have heard about it but doesn't really understand exactly all the details. So I'd love it if you could just kick us off by telling our audience or what BACnet is and how it kind of works with IoT.
Yeah, so BACnet is essentially a building communication protocol. It's where components within a building use this sort of language or protocol to talk to one another, and also for automation purposes. It's I wouldn't really say it's part of IoT. However, it can be part of IoT. I mean,
Okay.
IoT is actually just Internet of Things. So if
Sure.
you connect BACnet to internet, then yeah, then it's IoT. But essentially, the core of it is just a protocol developed, an open source protocol developed for buildings, the components within buildings to be able to communicate with one another.
So what goes into utilizing BACnet for somebody, again, maybe not necessarily fully on the technical side, but just wants to understand they own a building or some kind of real estate, and they're trying to understand how this fits into potential deployments and bringing technology into their building. How does this, in a sense, work?
Yeah, it's quite simple actually. You need something called a BACnet controller, and then you have a BACnet device, which is essentially what the controller controls.
Okay.
There's two types of BACnet IP, which is over sort of wired over like Ethernet, almost like your network, your LAN network, and then you have something called BACnet MSTP, which is master slave, and that's like a two wire sort of system where very similar to IP, but it's just not over like a LAN network.
Mm,
Um, and essentially, if we talk about BACnet IP, it's as simple as connecting a controller with an Ethernet cable to a BACnet device. And if both of them are configured in a way where they're suited for the BACnet protocol over IP, you should be able to talk to them. They should be able to communicate with each other.
And when you're talking about devices, what are some devices that you kind of are explaining here that can be used in the building space?
Yeah, so they vary quite a bit, but you can almost get a BACnet device for almost any application. One application would be lighting. There's BACnet lighting controllers,
Okay.
uh, and essentially all it does is allows you to control sort of lighting, to dim
Okay.
them through BACnet.
So if somebody is deploying a solution, let's say on the IoT side in a smart building, if is there a way to go about this without using BACnet in order for all the devices to connect and stuff like that? Like, or is this something that's kind of a given these days when it comes to deploying devices to monitor and around the smart building space?
So I mean, really the use case of BACnet was to allow devices that are kind of different from each other, different by in
Mm,
terms of like different manufacturers, different
okay.
companies, to like communicate with one another, right? It's like this sort of universal protocol where all of the devices can,
Yep.
communicate over like a single protocol, right? That's why it's so popular. It's being used for like quite some time now, and it's open source. By open source, I mean anybody out there can sort of pick it up and develop it for their own device, right? That is why it's so popular. However, there's like other methods where devices can
Sure.
communicate with each other.
Sure.
One of them is wireless mesh networks.
And when it comes to finding devices that have the BACnet protocol involved, is there a way to, I guess, let's say you have legacy and existing infrastructure that is not something that has this protocol into it. Is there a way to kind of go back and retrofit those, or is it something that you kind of have to just remove and replace if you want to be able to have them all kind of connected to the BACnet system there?
Yeah, so if there's a LAN network already available in the building, by LAN network I mean there's Ethernet
Sure.
cables
Yep.
running within the building itself, then it should be fairly simple to retrofit it with a BACnet controller,
Okay.
because BACnet controllers, the BACnet IP, they live on LAN
Right.
networks on Ethernet cables. However, if you're going with some other protocol, like for example MSTP, BACnet MSTP, then you would have to run extra cabling
Gotcha.
for that. Or you could do sort of like a hybrid where you have BACnet IP, and then they can expand into MSTP as well.
Gotcha. Okay. And what is I guess from your perspective, what does the future of kind of this look like? How does BACnet in a sense improve and grow into something that's even better than kind of it is now? Do you kind of see the protocol evolving, and if so, how?
Yeah, I mean, so BACnet is evolving every day, and it's heading in the right direction. They've come out with something new called BACnet Secure,
Mm,
so essentially adds another layer of security over BACnet. I think one big improvement that's being done by a lot of companies or startups actually, and we're sort of working on this too, is being able to do something called wireless BACnet, or having BACnet protocol being communicated with over the cloud or IoT, in a
okay.
sense where you don't have to sort of be on the network to talk to devices, right? And so this opens doors in the sense of where there's buildings already retrofitted with BACnet systems, right? They don't have to do much to be able to become smart buildings, right? All they would need is internet connection,
Okay.
and essentially the building's like smart.
That's interesting. So it's a much more streamlined way to turn a I guess a dumb building in a sense into a smart building without too much of an issue when it comes to the infrastructure, the devices, and the things like that.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Very cool. And for audience out there who's listening to this and wants to maybe learn more about BACnet and maybe ask questions, follow up, potentially get started and with some kind of deployment in the smart building space, what's the best way for them to follow up, ask questions, learn more?
Yeah, for sure. So you can reach us on LinkedIn, or you can sort of go on our website, argentum.ai, and contact us through
Awesome.
there.
Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time here. I think our audience is going to find a lot of value of learning, a little bit more about this topic. And so, yeah, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ryan.
All right, everyone. Thanks again for watching that episode of the Ask IoT video series. I hope you found a lot of value in it. If you did, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps others find it. It can make sure that you get the latest episodes as soon as they become available. Other than that, if you have any questions or topics that you would like us to cover in this series, please leave them in the comments or shoot us an email at hello@iotforall.com. Other than that, thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.